We are so fucking live right now.
Ooh.
Just after that explicit rating right away.
You're just going for it. You're going for the E. You just want the E next.
I want the E in the feed. I want
It
the
doesn't
E
mean exceptional. It doesn't mean exceptional.
Oh, it doesn't? I thought that was what the E meant.
Not E for everybody either. Not E for everybody either.
Well, I'm not for everybody, so I understand who my customer is not.
Do you understand who your customer is?
No, I'm still working through that. But I got married, so that, got
It's
end of one.
But is that like a customer or is that more like a co-founder?
I mean, it's definitely a co-founder, but I got to put the big splashy logo on the slide deck of life. It gets to exist in there as the traction. We went through a pilot period for a while where we were engaged, and we planned a big launch, and there was a big launch. We've subsequently gotten a couple of products out into the market, and so I think
how do you feel like your products are doing?
Well, I'll be honest. The batteries don't last very long, especially on our latest launch. I expected these things to last much longer, but it spends more time charging than it does entertaining me. So that's less than ideal. Also, it does make this occasionally it's got like this alarm setting. And you can't customize the alarm sound, and so it's always this one piercing sound that's sure to get under your skin. And it's kind of problematic because it's got a few different failure modes that are built into the product. And no matter which failure mode it is, it gives the exact same alarm. And there's no interface or control panel or whatever to actually see what the problem is. And so is it low batteries? Is it need more fuel in it? Does it, sometimes it gets some air in the chamber, and that doesn't work. All of it, same alarm, and you're just kind of left with a guess and check. And that is less than ideal. If I'm being honest, we got some work to do, but it's the first version of the product, and it's may have come out a little bit underbaked, but better to have launched a product and learn from the market, which the market response has largely been good, than it is to try to wait until something's perfect and just keep that thing in there forever.
There you go. It's the way to do it, and hopefully people understand. Product is actually a baby.
For those of you who were only half listening to the show.
Oh boy.
Oh. So yeah, well, looking forward to whatever product your little startup eventually kicks out. I understand maybe you guys want to be in development for another decade or something like that. That's fine, but we've
bootstrapped it, so we're taking our time. We're not trying to hit scale super quickly. It's
because the one thing they don't tell you is that when you do decide to do that scale, it does not come with additional capital, and so you actually find that your runway,
you just increase your burn.
It does. The burn just goes through the roof. Yeah. It's insane. And if you've ever actually taken a look at the payback period on these, it's terrible. It's not a good payback period. It's literally decades.
Yeah, 30 could be 30 years.
It's very hard to tell. Lots of lagging indicators, very few leading indicators. So it's really difficult to know if you are actually on the right path. But we're gonna keep watching those metrics, and North Star.
Keep on keeping on.
Keep on keeping on. That's right. That's right. Well, we do have some questions that y'all sent in. So in the more land of realistic startups and not the parable, I guess, that Cameron and I have been going through for a little while. So let's see what we got. We got some, they're all B2B SaaS. You guys are speaking our love language here today. They all do B2B SaaS, but completely different kinds of products at some different stages here. Yeah, some different, looks like they're kind of running the gamut there. So that'll be super fun. But we do prioritize the live questions. So, if you got a live question, drop it in the chats. Throw it down into the LinkedIn one below or the YouTube one at your right, and we'll get to those. Otherwise, you ready to dive in?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So here's the first one. So this is B2B SaaS targeting agencies. It doesn't say what kind, but agencies. They're at the early revenue stage, and they say growth is all word of mouth right now, which is great. But the second we tried paid ads, the numbers don't work at all. How do you get past referrals into something that actually scales? Great question that we can tackle from a few different perspectives. Anything come to mind first, or do you want me to dive in?
So their early revenue, I'm a little stuck on just the generality of agencies. So, like I think just maybe a piece of context is, as you're sharing it with people, whether that's the elevator pitch of what are you working on to meeting with advisors, that context is key because I think then it goes to like the paid ads. Are they Google ads? Are they on Instagram or like LinkedIn? Like, what does that ultimately look like in terms of some of those channels going forward? So I think more specificity in general will be helpful. But maybe that is just something that you are more generally trying to build this thing for agencies in general, and that might be leading to some of those challenges of where if you're putting this into paid ads, it's not necessarily converting because you're not getting in front of a very targeted customer. And so as you're looking at growth is coming from word of mouth, which is, that is certainly great. And I'd be curious of like, is that just more visibility or are those actually becoming paying customers? And so I think the connection I would want to make is it seems like you're taking this very general approach to like we're going to pay for ads, but it's not clearly targeting a specific agency, and so that might be why it's not working at all, is because there's not specificity around that, and you haven't really created that repeatable engine. So we talk about this strength of evidence matrix, and so maybe those first initial sales were people that were close to you and they wanted to support your business, and so maybe they refer to their friends, but we haven't really figured out what that engine is of how to actually get our value proposition in a way that would be the theory of how you're actually going to get in front of customers going forward. So I would say scale down maybe the investment on the ads and set up some rigor around experimentation to see if we can start to not necessarily even get the sale, but are we getting the right people into the funnel, and then being able to convert on the landing page? Because I think there's too many assumptions of saying the ad's not working. Is it the ad's not working because you're getting in front of the wrong people, or they're coming to the landing page or whatever you're using to convert and the promise isn't landing with them? And so actually the way customers are referring it is they're speaking to it in a different way than maybe you're communicating it, and so understanding some of those things. And so we want to test for one specific variable versus just generally shotgun approach of we're paying for ads to get customers. So that's where my mind goes. Would be curious of what comes to mind for you, J Dooms.
I completely agree. My read on we tried paid ads and the numbers don't work at all. I guess I initially interpreted that as the economics didn't pencil out,
Mm,
and that the customer acquisition cost was too high. That's me, reading into it. It did not explicitly say that, but that's what I heard.
yeah.
So, given that, then yes, obviously specificity in the audience is going to make your ad considerably more effective and probably make it cheaper. So that's one side of this. Assuming for the sake of argument that you have said specificity and you just did not give it into the question form that you filled out, which could be totally fine. Then I would say that well, that's not the right channel yet. And there's two things that I want to say. So one is we have this tool that we use at the Distraction Hub called the Strength of Evidence Matrix. We'll throw a link into the comments or into the show notes for an article you can read about that. But the basic idea is we evaluate the strength of evidence based on two factors. So one is the kind of evidence, and so certain evidence is worth more than others, and this is like along the say do gaps of customer interviews at the bottom, retention, referral, revenue, and all that stuff is at the top. So you can think of that as the y-axis there. So the more robust the evidence is, the higher it is on the y-axis, and then on the x-axis we have the distance the customer is from the company itself. So we all the way on the like toward the zero side of the axis, we have affiliated, and this is your friends, your family, the coworkers, people you used to work with, industry contacts that you've had, all that kind of stuff. And then a degree, a click away from that, we have like the referral side, and then a click away from that, a click or two clicks away from that, we have cold, which are they find you or you reached out to them, cold calling, whatever, but you reached out to them. So we have, affiliated to like referral to cold. And so like the basic idea is that evidence is more valuable the further they are from you, because the people who are affiliated with you are more likely to give you a try, even if you don't have the value proposition perfectly aligned, or even the pricing isn't perfectly aligned. There's a lot of that social pressure that they get there. And then when it comes to referral, we get less social pressure, but we still have social pressure. And only when you get to cold do we eliminate that, which makes it the strongest possible evidence. So kudos for trying to work your way, like down that axis to get the stronger evidence. But I just wanted to highlight that that's the goal that we should be trying to get to here. And so as you're shifting to the ads and trying to get to cold, you might also be brushing up against, well, now that we don't have the social pressure, we just actually may not have understood really well what our value proposition was and how that resonates with people and what the right language is, because we cannot paper over some of that with the relational capital that we have, or the relational capital that we're borrowing in the triangle of trust between us and the person who referred us to them. So that's that. And then the second thing they'll say on that is that this might just be the wrong channel. Like, I don't know how you landed on paid ads. Like, why did we jump straight to paid ads? And where are we doing the paid ads? And as Cameron mentioned, who are we targeting in those paid ads? There's a lot of variables that we're putting into place here. And where did these hypotheses come from? And in the data that we're getting back, what is the actual hypothesis that we invalidated? Was it the audience? Was it the platform? Was it the message? There's a lot of different things here that we're just assuming into this one big hypothesis of paid ads and saying, calling the paid ads aren't working. So we need to get more specific about what isn't working so that we can pivot on that. So just some loose thoughts kind of around the edges there.
Nice. Cool. Well, it looks like we got one from Jack. So Jack, good to have you here. So thanks for plugging on in. So here is the question Jack has. So what are some of the best ways to find a co-founder? So a co-founder type person. So a person who could figure out the business end of the company. Jack has a utility patent and a sellable product, maybe sellable product, but would rather give up equity if someone were able to handle the business end. So I think the first thoughts that come to mind, and curious of your thoughts, JDM. So, but I think the biggest thing is don't rush that process. Like if you're especially if you're going to be building this into a business in the future, whether that's something that's venture backable or just even a lifestyle business, is don't rush to just do a speed dating and find a co-founder and then you're off to the races. Is it's a big commitment of time, money, and all the things going forward. And so I think there's a variety of ways to do that. So if you're on the business side, Josh and I run an event called the Startup Challenge, and that's just a great opportunity to learn entrepreneurship by doing it. And so, as a technical founder is a great place to build and gain some of that experience, and also meet other people that are trying to build things. And so it's oftentimes not just trying to hunt for that co-founder. It's building that network and being in spaces that probably you likely feel uncomfortable as a technical founder, because it's more of kind of maybe the business conversation or things of that nature. I know you just plugged into our Sierra Startup Social the other day, which was a great way to meet some other people. So I think just continuing to plug into events, and if you wanted something a little bit more straightforward, I know I think YC has a co-founder platform or something, but I think that those are a little more inauthentic in the way that you would build a relationship. And so just as you would try to find a partner in anything, it's likely going to take time. So that's how I would approach it. But thoughts, JDM?
Yeah, a couple. I agree with everything you said. While we're plugging or that soft plug of Y Combinator, YC School also has some videos that you can watch on finding a co-founder, so it might be worth checking out as well. I imagine that's going to be a bit more biased toward the Valley than it is here in Sacramento, but I haven't watched them. Maybe it'll be helpful. Setting that aside, the layer that I want to add on top of what Cameron just said was that this is a very long term, very intimate relationship. It's a marriage, and so you're going to be with this person every day for on a partnership level, not at a boss employee level, for many years, for 7 years at least, like a long time. And so this is something, yeah, like Cameron said, don't rush it. At the same time, it's also something you really, really need to take the time into to finding different people, exploring, dating, and and then eventually, you go through the same process where you're kind of dating. There's a lot of different people. You're doing some casual things together, maybe some group things. You're volunteering on some projects together, and then you're like, oh, hey, let's get together and do some small thing together, and you go and do that small thing together, and eventually become exclusive. And then as you become exclusive, you then get more serious, and then eventually you say like let's co-found a company together. Cameron and I essentially went through the same thing on our journey toward the Traction Lab. So we did a lot of collaborative work before that, and all the way at the beginning we were maybe frenemies or something like that.
Ooh, yeah, I would say so.
So but collaborators nonetheless in the space, and then I think learned to love and respect each other over time. But we got there, and so there's that. The other thing, like on a more tactical level, so like that's not going to happen in the short term. And so like the absolute worst time to find a co-founder is when you need one.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm actually going to take the opportunity to dodge your question entirely and say you're not going to find one on a time scale that's going to be right for you. So let's figure out a path that doesn't require us to take on a co-founder, so that we can pursue that path in parallel to that, actually making a lot of forward progress with our startup. And this is where I would plug into some of the Traction Lab related things that we have here. So I'll take the opportunity to shameless plugs. The Startup Challenge would be great. That's not happening for a few months, so that's a bit unfortunate. There are some comparable events in other areas that I'm happy to refer you to if you don't mind a little bit of travel to connect to those in the shorter term. But I would this is going to be super shameless plug, but I would check out the Traction Lab Venture School, TLVS, that we obviously offer at the Traction Lab, and that's entirely built around these technical founders. They might be of the engineer types, but they also just need to be subject matter experts. But what they want to do is find a repeatable path to growth, find those first paying customers, and then figure out how to turn that into a repeatable path of growth. In other words, how to wrap a business around something that already has some technical heft behind it. That's the whole basis of it. It's a full year of support from the Traction Lab. Cameron dropped the link into the comments there, so you can see that there. Yeah, so I would check that out because I think it's built exactly for you. I do see the follow up here. Would you recommend trying to find recommendations from people? And sometimes feel due to my poor world planning, I'm trying to get things done quickly. I get the recklessness, but the alternative is failure. So this is where I just actually disagree with you. I actually think that the alternative is to pick a different path and to do some more things that yourself. I think you're making the assumption that you need somebody on the business side to make forward progress in this, and I actually don't think that that's true. I've worked with thousands of founders over the course of my career, many of which were purely technical founders, and many of them have gone on to build great companies, and a lot of them started at the outset with, I don't know, fuck shit about the business side of things and how to turn it into a business. And like that's something that you have to learn over time anyway. And the failure rate of trying to do that yourself as part of the process is going to be with trying to find a co-founder to do that for you, because you're placing the entirety of success inside somebody else's hands, so you don't have the ability to evaluate either on a technical skills level or on an interpersonal level in a time scale that's going to make sense. And you'll also have a lot less credibility when you go to do fundraising, because you're just these two random dudes who don't know each other, and that's going to be a lot of risk on an investor side.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I would add in there is like the one of the biggest like unfair advantages these days is the speed of learning, and that's like one of our core ethos at the Traction Lab is to like give you the tools and frameworks to like go out there, learn, make decisions based on that data, and quickly iterate your venture, because where you're starting is not going to be where you're ending. And you, as a founder of what you're creating, yes, albeit technical, is if you put on the lens of just, I would say just purely empathy, trying to engage with your customers and understand the nuance of their pain points and what that would look like, is like you would have the capability of getting that initially started while in parallel maybe trying to find someone to support in that process. But overall, like it's not a necessity at this given stage. Like I think it's something if you're trying to build a scalable venture that you will need, but ultimately some of that foundational work of discovery and validation can be certainly done as a non-technical or as a technical founder.
Cool.
Awesome. So it looks like a couple questions left, and I know we have to wrap, or at least I have to wrap fairly early. I have to go to our workshop here, and it's a little bit of a process. So where do you want to go next, JDM? It looks like we have some, I think there was a quick follow-up there, or do you want to hop into the pre-submitted?
Let's hop into let's get another pre-submitted question out. We'll do a lightning round on these, considering that we're a little short on time here today. Let's do the let's just go in order. All right. So B2B SaaS for freelancers, again, with our generic freelancers, although at least that, I guess makes a little bit more sense than agencies, but still too vague. Product is live, pre-revenue, people sign up, use it once or twice, then forget about it. Not sure if that's an onboarding problem or the product just isn't sticky enough. How do you even tell the difference? They say they like it when I follow up, but the usage says otherwise. So super common pattern. This happens all the time. So the basic idea here is that you might be giving someone like a vitamin as opposed to a painkiller, or something that had enough curiosity to try it, or they just went like, I'm curious. I'm guessing because you haven't mentioned any revenue, your pre-revenue, that you just gave them for something for free, which made the barrier really low to try it. So this is not 100% reliable here, but with pretty good accuracy, what you probably have here is something that's just not worth it. Like you're not delivering enough value yet. It's not a question of making it sticky. It's that the value you offered them simply isn't worth them sticking around. You're not creating enough value. You're not solving a problem that has sufficient severity and urgency to turn them into this like willing buyer and eager returning customer. And so this is why we do not recommend at the Traction Lab at all, if at all possible, to get people onto a product pre-revenue, because you're going to end up with this bias in here. And now the question that you're asking is, how do I get these people to stay? But we have actually no way of knowing if the people who you're trying to get to stay would even be the same group of people who would pay you in the future. So now we're building a product and then trying to increase stickiness for a group of people who might just be forever freeloaders. And so then when it comes time to actually switch over to getting money, all the freeloaders are going to leave. And then everybody who's left, that is out in the market wanted something different than what you just custom built for all the freeloaders. So flip around, get rid of the free, go straight for monetization, find a way to find a customer who's willing to pay money to solve this problem right away. And if they're not willing to do that, that just confirms everything that I said. And if they are, and they're still leaving, then maybe you have a more traditional retention problem at that point. But we can also drop an article into the notes here about that we wrote before about there's 3 different reasons essentially that customers churn, the 3 Ps, and so we'll drop that in there and you can take a look. But it's people, promise, and product.
So I literally was typing into the like Google search to pull up the article. I said traction thinking, and then it came up 3 Ps. That's
there we are. That's what we want.
No, like filling in the thing. So that's
awesome.
That's cool. That's cool.
So we'll drop that link in there. I think that'll help you out. You have anything to add to that, Cameron?
I think just maybe just a small definitional how we think about it, and probably if you were to communicate to another advisor or investor, is like when we think of stickiness, it's about retaining paying customers, and that like you've created something that's gonna like be a barrier for them to leave, whether like the value generation so high, or they had to there's a big process on the upfront that like onboarding is required and all the things, and so if their switching costs is going to be much greater versus what we're kind of peeling apart is the like value generation is why they're not sticking uh, around. Like they're just not getting potentially enough value from the get go is kind of our assumption, based versus it being like, oh, they're getting a lot of value and then therefore not staying. So.
Sweet.
All right. Do we want to do a rapid fire and then call it a day?
All right then. Last one. B2B SaaS for manufacturers. They're at the idea stage, and they say everyone I talk to is a problem. But when I ask if they pay, I get vague. I get the pay. Oh, they get vague. When I ask them if they pay, they get vague. Is lukewarm interest a no, or do I just need to talk to more people? Starting to worry it's a vitamin and not a painkiller. Is it lukewarm interest a no? Yes. Yep. They told you no. That's my rapid fire answer. Can't remember what you got.
It's a polite no. And I think the thing I would leave you with is you want to go for a hard yes or a hard no, because then at least we can understand how we move forward, because then we can actually interpret that data. But if you're already feeling like there's ambiguity, the process of starting a startup is already ambiguous and chaotic. So like why add to that? Like let's get those definitive answers, as we would say, is define that negative space, which provides clarity of where you should focus.
Cool.
Cool. Awesome. Possum.
All right.
Well,
Cool.
maybe in wrapping us up, and if you want to add anything, Jay Dooms, is we do have applications live for the Traction Lab Investment Readiness Engine. So we are taking applications and having interviews. So if you have applied recently, we're going to be doing our next tranche of outreach for interviews. So thank you for your patience. And then additionally, for those that applied, we appreciate that and that we've already got to talk to. Additionally, Traction Lab Venture School, as we shared, is rocking and rolling. So feel free to, opt into that, and would love to support you in those ways. The last two things would be the Traction Lab podcast, which we drop on a regular basis, usually on Sundays. And then we also have our Traction Thinking articles. So if you want support and resources, we got you. Don't hesitate to reach out. And I think we'll conclude with some frivolity. So we'd love to hear what's top of mind for the shredder.
Well, so I was out of town yesterday. My wife and I took a day trip to Napa, which we haven't done since December. We had our son, our 3-year-old, in daycare, and then had a babysitter in the evening. So we took our infant, but she's chill, she's well behaved, and went to Napa. We absconded to Napa for the day, and it was absolutely delightful. One of the fantastic things about living in Sacramento isn't Sacramento itself, but its proximity to so many other things too. Like where else? I love LA. People who know me know I have a special affinity to LA. I love Los Angeles, but like we're right here in Sacramento. An hour and a half from us, we've got Tahoe, we've got Napa, we've got the Bay, we've got just a click further than that, we've got the coast. We got this proximity. So we just jetted down for the day. We did breakfast down there, a quick breakfast. We did a great tastings, lunch and dinner before we headed back. And of course, the food and wine scene is great in Napa. So strongly recommend for those of you here, to take the jet, plan it in advance, pick some cool places. We went to 2 places we hadn't been before, which was super fun. And both of them were great, which is not usually our experience. Normally we get like a 50-50 thing because, wineries run the gamut and there's a whole personal preference thing that goes into that. But we started the morning at Hoops in Yountville at the Oasis. They have like an actual rescue farm there, plus a big garden that's actually used for food. That was super great, like out there with the the cocks were doing their shouting at each other, and there were goats bleeding and butterflies fluttering, and like it was super cool out in the garden tasting with some good wine. And then in the afternoon we went to Bouchain down in Carneros, which we hadn't been to either. They've been around for a while though, and that was actually a really great experience. We're up on this like nice terrace, great view. We can see the Brazos Bridge, basically all the way over to Napa Airport, Marina, like in the vineyards, all the things. Like just this great view, some great wine. And one of the awesome things is like if you're into wine, as I am, most of the people who go to these tastings are not. And so the staff spend all day, like and they're wine industry people, like they spend all day dumbing everything down and doing that. And so if you start to engage with the staff and like demonstrate some knowledge to them, they get excited and they start to geek out with you. And then they're like, I got something else. And they go and like get you something that they're not giving to everybody because they wouldn't appreciate it and therefore probably wouldn't buy it, and do all that. So I had a fantastic experience both at Hoops and Bouchain. So strong recommend. Anybody looking for some other places in Napa, I got you. Hit me up. But wonderful day trip. Good way to spend a Thursday, and I'm back now. So woohoo, rock and roll, man.
There you
What
go.
about you?
I love it. Well, us commoners, we wouldn't get the special experience for our, limited taste buds and not being able to, we don't wake up and have banana co-ferment coffee.
Okay, first of all, I didn't get a special experience. I got the experience that I wanted, that somebody who doesn't love wine wouldn't be interested in at all. And so that's what I mean. Like I did a vertical of Pinot Noirs, and so we had 5 different Pinots. Like it was great, and they were all estate grown, but with completely different, like to really showcase the like the spectrum. Like that's not going to be interesting to most people. That's what I mean by that.
I know, I'm just messing around. Sort of. No, I'm just kidding.
But only a little bit.
Well, what's my frivolity? I think I'll play on the thread of short things away. Katie and I went to San Francisco last weekend and went and started Friday evening with a concert at the Fillmore. So we went and saw Chance Pena, an up and coming artist. So check him out. But had a lot of fun there. But the main focus was the San Francisco Marathon. So I went and took on 26.2 miles.
Woo.
And it wasn't my fastest race, but it's also probably my hardest race. But it's the one I'm the most proud of. I finished 3 hours 31 minutes, so it's still quite a quick pace. So 8 minutes and 5 seconds. But for me, it was like the first time if I'm connecting it to startups, was I used all my resources at the right time to like get me through the edge. Whereas like usually I either had stuff left over after the race, or I finished way too early in terms of using my sports beans and all the water. And so I kind of hit my right stride, and I wasn't expecting to have that pace. And so feeling good about how I came in, and looking forward to my next one, which is the CIM in December. So with that, it was a quick weekend away, but beautiful weather in the Bay, and good to be back in SAC.
Awesome. Well, excellent. So we will wrap there. Awesome. Thank you for joining, those of us who are joining live. Always appreciate you hanging out with us Fridays at noon on YouTube and LinkedIn. You can go to the Traction Lab website and find the links to all the things there, tractionlab.io. So always happy to do that. Cameron, always good to just hop into the virtual studio here, hang out, shoot the shit, answer some questions, hopefully create some value. And
there we
go. Once you take us home.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone. We appreciate you having us in your ear for another week, and we will exit as we do with